the night out. Great job with the police department for that on Tuesday night. And the event last night, which I should probably share in communications, but Dave from the Crazy Burrito was just marveling over it, saying that you guys should do that like once a month over the summertime, because it was such a great event last night.
Thanks.
Let's move on to the approval of the minutes of July 17th. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belke, seconded by Alderman Schauer. Any additions or deletions for the clerk? And the roll, please.
Belke,
Aye.
Schauer,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belzak.
Abstain.
Abstention goes with the ayes, so it would be 6 ayes.
Receiving communications, I guess I'll start with them because I received quite a few comments from residents, emails. We've received a number of emails, and thanks for the wonderful National Night Out that we had Tuesday evening. Some of the comments, I'd like to read some of the comments. They really quite approving of the event. One resident wrote, "Great event. Consider 6 to 8 p.m. When more children can attend, and not have it relatively dark." The next one wrote, "I just want to take a moment to compliment you on the great night out this past week. My boys loved it. You could really tell whoever was in charge of putting this event together really put a lot of thought into it. The Touch a Truck was fantastic, and so were the two demonstrations the officers did. We hope you do this next year. My boys are already talking about it. Great idea. This thanks to all who serve our community. Another, hope Darien continues the National Night Out. It was a good event, great event." So all of them were very complimentary, and I complimented our police department that evening also on what a great job they did. Officers and Sergeant Squares identified the officers who really helped in putting that together that night, Tuesday night. So kudos to them for a great event, and we will keep doing this. So, and I'm sure all of you heard, when I walked around, everybody was very complimentary of the event, and it was fun to see all the kids. The siren on our police car kept going off all night long, I tell you. That was something to hear. That's a nice thing to say. But thank you to all the residents who wrote in compliments about our National Night Out. Any other communications to share? Alderman Belke?
I received a thank you to the city staff and council for a successful ditch project on Tennessee. This is one of the residents that had major water problems going through the ditches and everything, and he showed us a picture of it all finished and functioning just fine. So he wanted to say thank you for that project. Also, I received another communication for a resident on 71st Street who is across the street from the Darien Community Park, and he was inquiring about a mid-block crosswalk on the 71st Street going to the park, because he's saying that several people and families cross the street, not at Clarendon Hills. So he witnessed a near accident with a mother and kids, and it scared him, and he wanted to report it. So I know, Dan, you responded to him. If you want to let us know where that is.
Basically, what I responded back, it's not a common practice to have a mid-block crosswalk, especially when the request was basically two houses west of Clarendon Hills Road, or approximately 150, 175 feet. Nonetheless, obviously, Chris Sant did come back with a response that was somewhat negative, and we took it one step further and sent it out to our consultant to reevaluate to see if there is any merit in having a crosswalk potentially further to the west. Again, if there is, we're looking at an analysis along with a cost estimate, so either we'll bring that back towards a budget or follow up with City Council next week as soon as we get a report back.
Well, it didn't make sense where he was suggesting it.
Correct.
Because, as you said, it was so close to the corner, and come on, people should cross the street at the intersection. But if we were to put one in, it would make more sense if we did it farther west, where you have the entrance into Darien Community Park.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would make more sense.
That's one thing staff looked at and recommended.
What's the first street west of the park that goes,
Bentley.
is it Bentley?
Yeah.
How many houses are from, do you think are from the park to Bentley?
Well, there's
Is there?
4 or 5, but there's no sidewalk on
Yeah,
the
on the south side.
Okay.
So, and that could be an alternative. Again,
Because I was just saying, the only people that are benefiting from that mid-block crosswalk would be the people on in those houses, because anybody else coming, they should be, walking, but you said there's no sidewalk on the south side of the street, so, all right.
And I think that if nothing else, maybe, is there something we could do with the sign? You know, caution, or something about using the proper crosswalk at Clarendon Hills or anything like that?
Oh, dear.
I've never seen anything in respect to that, to tell someone not to cross.
It's by law, it's called jaywalking,
Right, well,
isn't
that's,
it?
yeah, I was just gonna say, short of jaywalking,
Yeah,
it's not, there's no crosswalk. I mean, we could be potentially putting up signs like that throughout the entire town.
Yeah, I
No.
think because the way the park is, you have the main entrance on Clarendon Hills, and then you have that inviting entrance that is to the west, just 3 houses or so. So, when people are walking, they cut constantly. And I know it's it's really, the burden's on them to be cautious and use the crosswalks or use the street. But anyway, I was just thinking of other alternatives.
I think maybe an alternative to that is putting out some type of safety, call notice on Direct Connect, telling residents when you cross that parks, a little, cross at your nearest intersection
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
the middle
Just
of the roadway.
reminders
Just a thought process.
Any other communications to share? Then let's move on to the mayor's report, and I have no report this evening. City clerk's report?
Just one item, Madam Mayor. Meet and greet with the mayor will take place on Monday, August the 21st at 6 PM here at City Hall in the upstairs conference room.
City administrator's report?
No report, Mayor, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Then let's move to department head reports. Chief Thomas, are you going to share a report?
I don't have the report because it'll come out in 2 weeks' time. So we'll talk about that. This month I'm going to talk about robberies and shootings because I've had a couple emails about those. One occurred in December of 2015 and one occurred last month. A shooting 20 months apart is not a trend or a pattern make, so I'll discuss that in more fully detail in the monthly report. But people had concerns, so I'll talk about that in the monthly report.
Yes, I think we just had a resident copy us a second time. That's
Yeah, I
still
sent that
looking. Did you
email
send a
to
response
her
to that
and
person?
to, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I already, the individual ones I've already done, but I'll do it mass group in the monthly report. So
Well, and
everybody sees the
kudos to our
information.
police department, our detectives, that was quite quick. The Shell Station issue and then the TGI Friday
Yeah, both of them
shooting.
were resolved,
Yeah,
and
were
both
resolved
people
very
are in
quickly.
custody, yes.
And
We'll
I
talk
think
about
you
that.
have, you have apprehended someone who was, we had a recent small rash of burglaries to cars again.
We had a couple small groups in June and July, and we just had one last night with 5 cars in the Woodmere subdivision that were broken into. None of them locked. Small change taken out of 2 of the cars. One had nothing taken out, and one had an iPad and GPS in it that was taken.
Yeah.
So that continues to happen. So once again, just my typical normal plea to secure your items and lock your stuff up.
We have the misfortune of living in what people consider a very safe community.
Sure.
And this is what happens.
It is safe, but even in a safe community, you take those precautions to lock the stuff up. And then last, I too would appreciate the kudos about National Night Out, and I too would like to say thanks to the officers. Nick Squares was the sergeant that was in charge. He did a great job of getting everything organized and putting that together. So it was went over very well. A couple hundred people probably showed up to
Yep, it was.
do all those things. So
Safe to assume
very
you're
nice.
not, you're not an overly protective father. Was that your daughter that was with the
Yeah, my
canine?
daughter
time.
wanted to do the canine demonstration, so
That's
she was had the bite sleeve on and took the hit by the dog. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Municipal Services, Dan, did you have any
No, I had no
things to cover?
comments this evening.
Any questions for Dan? All righty, let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 171807 in the amount of $593,241.95 from the listed funds, as well as payroll for the period ended July 20th in the amount of $267,011.75, and payroll for the period ended August 3rd, the amount of $259,388,050.56, for a total to be approved of $1,119,642.26.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman Belzak. Discussion? Where was the, oh, that's under one of the other items. The Darien Fest, no, the Darien Fest information, yeah, that's under a different thing. Yeah, okay. All right, then the roll, please.
Kenny?
Aye.
Belzak?
Aye.
Clistic?
Aye.
Belkey?
Aye.
Shower?
Aye.
Marquez?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The warrant has been approved. Standing committee reports. Alderman Marquez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight, the Municipal Services Committee approved the minutes of the June 26, 2017 meeting, and those will be submitted to the clerk's office. And I wanted to note that our next meeting is currently scheduled for September 25th here in the council chambers at 6:30.
Alderman Shower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's admin finance meeting was canceled due to a lack of agenda items, and our next admin finance meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 5th at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
September 5th?
Tuesday, September 5th.
Okay. Okay, we don't have a, okay. Police, well, the police committee, we don't have our chairman here.
Do you have the date, Joanne?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
The meeting is to, considering they have agenda items, Monday, August 21st at 6 p.m. in the Police Department Training Room.
6 p.m.?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, yes, the treasurer wants to go. He had, this past week, had his the police pension committee was held. So do you want to go over that?
We had our quarterly Police Pension Board meeting on July 26th, and I do appreciate Alderman Kenny and Alderman Shower both attended. As I mentioned last time, we did have a presentation of the actuarial report presented by the actuaries engaged by the Police Pension Fund. Foster & Foster is the actuary. I had quite a few questions because the contribution kicked up by about $162,000 from the prior year. They changed about 4 of the assumptions that had been used previously. He did indicate for the third time in the last several years they've changed the mortality tables, which indicate people are living longer, which does make sense. But he also indicated that the state is also reviewing those mortality tables to factor in that the police and fire typically do not have as long longevity as others, but he anticipated that that study won't come out for a couple more years, so that probably won't be reflected for a couple of years. My concern with the presentation was mainly that he made these changes and assumptions without checking with the Police Pension Board. Last year, he did indicate that he was going to have some recommendations and present it to the board sometime during the year. Well, that wasn't done. Instead, he just incorporated them in this year's numbers. I'm not saying I disagree with any of his assumptions, but I just thought it could have been presented a little bit early and prepared people for it. Also, I was a little bit surprised because I've got the investment performance that I'll present you for the second quarter. And last year, I thought we had a very good performance, as I periodically update the council every quarter of the investment performance. Last year, on an actual basis, based on our investment managers, we had a return of a little over 8%, which exceeds our 7% bogey, which was very good in my mind. Well, actuarially, last year, instead of being 8%, it was only 5.86%, which really took me by surprise. I've been doing this for 10 years, reviewing this for 10 years, and in pursuing it a little bit with the actuary, he indicated since last year we didn't hit our 7% bogey, that shortfall has to be made up and catch up, so it's reflected in a lower rate of return in coming years. So again, it just really bothered me a little bit. In fact, I just turned to our investment advisors. I said, okay, guys, this year we need a 13% return to make our 7% that we really need, sort of facetiously. So that concerned me a little bit because our investment performance has been reasonably good considering we are limited in only investing 55% in equities and 45% in fixed income, which essentially isn't returning much of anything. But I think some good questions were asked by both of the aldermen. The Police Pension Board is requesting that we fund the amount based on the actuarial report, and the actuary, his fee does include a presentation before the city council. So I do intend on having him here for a presentation before the whole council where we can all review the report and go through some more specific questions on it. But that sort of summarizes it a little bit. But again, I'm glad I had the other two aldermen there. It was their second year attending, and I think they've both learned a lot, and they were, again, asking some good and intelligent questions in my mind.
Well, I think you shared with me before the meeting, too, that you had asked for this report in advance, but only received it the night of the meeting. So you
No,
really
not-
didn't,
not-
you
not
didn't,
quite, but several days before.
yeah, you didn't have that much of a chance to really analyze it. Alderman Shower, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just, as a comment, and one of the biggest things that jumped out at me is the actuarial's working on the assumption that the average police officer and if I'm wrong from what he said, please let me know, but he was saying that the average police officer, he's working on the assumption that will retire at 50 and live till 83. Is that correct?
That's what he stated, yes.
So 33 years is the average life expectancy of a police officer is what he's putting down. Now, right now, the average life of a police officer, from what I remember nationally, is about 66, and I'm not sure what the retirement age. For 33 years, that's a big longevity. That question, I did not, when I asked that question, he told me that if we're working under those assumptions, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, but I just looked at that, I'm like, that's just, it's crazy, I thought. And he's telling me, well, we also, the state of Illinois, the actuarial tables are outdated. Okay, well, what do we think they are versus right now? And I never really got an answer on that whole thing. I'm going to tell you right now that we have always funded at 100%. If these questions are not answered when he comes on up here, what he really truly believes, I will be the first one to recommend maybe we just stick with 90% till we can actually get the numbers for 2019, because that's what he's saying when the next are going to come on out. I don't want to do that, but at the same time, 33 years for a police officer to retire at 50 and live till 83? Okay. So,
Mike, can you just clarify what Alderman Shower mentioned in terms of the 100% or 90? People,
Yeah.
most people aren't understanding that, but it's.
Yeah, the state last changed the requirements for, the state has always pushed off fully funding pensions. I mean, that's why the state as a whole is in trouble, whether it's the police pensions, the teachers' pensions, every pension in the state is having the same issues, because they were supposed to be fully funded, I believe by 2025. In 2011, they came and said, oh, just kidding, guys, we're going to give you 30 years to fund them at 100%. Well, ever since I've been treasurer here, the council's gone along with me. I've always recommended we fund it based on 100% of what the actuary proposes. The state says we're only required to fund it at 90% to get to 90% in those 30 years. Again, I believe if we have the obligation, let's fund the obligation, whatever it is. Actuarial science, sort of like accounting science, of which I am. I'm not an actuary, and I don't presuppose to be, so I don't want to judge this actuary in terms of his actuarial ability, and he's got a good reputation, and he's got a good reputation with the Illinois Department of Insurance also, so I'm not challenging that at all. But there are a lot of assumptions that go into these. But to say, okay, is the number $50,000 off? Even if it is, we're only approximately 60% funded, so we still have a long way to get to 100% funded. So even if the numbers aren't perfect, in my mind, we still have a long way to get even close to the 100% over the next 25 years or so. So my recommendation would probably still be funded at 100%. We do have another opportunity. The actuary is hired by the police pension fund. We as a council can say, well, we'd like to get another opinion. We can hire our own actuary to do the calculation. Well, that costs the pension fund $6,000, so I would assume a like amount if we were to have it done. In my mind, again, we're only 60% funded, whether we're putting 20,000, 30,000 more in this year. I'd rather see those extra dollars go into getting caught up with where our ultimate obligation is going to be, rather than even spending it on another study. But again, that's something that is available to the council, or as Alderman Shower indicated, if you guys decide, okay, let's just do it at 90%, that's also available. My recommendation, I think, would still continue to be funded at 100% based on this. But again, we'll get a chance to talk to him in a little bit more detail when he does his formal presentation here.
Okay.
But I am open to questions to the extent I can answer them. Again, not an actuary, but to the extent I know or
Yeah,
understand
anybody
it.
have a question for Treasurer Corn right now?
We
And-
just got the report and the request in actually today, so we haven't sent it out to the council yet, so we can do that in preparation, obviously, for that.
Yeah, well, usually we take it to the finance committee first, which I would imagine we would probably do in September, and then can come back maybe the second meeting in September or early October. I don't know when you need to have the
Well,
levy.
if there was any interest, and I don't know that there is, if there's any interest on us conducting our own study, we'd need a little more,
Sure, okay.
more time.
Yeah.
But if we can get the presentation to the city, the sooner the better, so we'll talk, Mike, after.
Okay.
So our past practices, it goes to the Administrative Finance next?
Well, I'm recalling the tax levy goes to the Admin Finance Committee and the report, but the presentation actually last year came before the city council
Okay.
as a whole, because
Yeah,
we
the
wanted
fee-
everybody to see and
The
have
fee
their report.
includes one presentation, and I would recommend it be before the full council as opposed to just admin finance committee.
Let's do it. Let's do it. First,
Well, we'll talk on the availability, but,
He's-
start working on the tax levy maybe October, so I'd rather have, if we could, get him here September.
That's fine in case there is a change.
better idea. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get
So-
him, to find out his availability for,
Yeah,
well,
he-
even at our next meeting in August.
Yeah, he's generally pretty flexible in terms of
Okay.
that. I'd be surprised if he couldn't.
Okay.
And then I was just going to report on it.
Yes.
And in terms of the fund performance, not that it really makes any difference anymore based on what I found out, but it was a decent second quarter. Second quarter, one of the fund managers earned 2.6% for the 3 months, and the other 2.38%. Year-to-date, which is a calendar year-to-date, which doesn't coincide with our fiscal year, one is 6.39% return, and the other 5.91%. So in half a year, we've almost made the 7%. So the investment performance is real good in
Yeah.
my mind, based on, again, 45% in fixed income. In fact, one question did come up by one of the police officers saying, the market's bound to correct. Maybe it makes sense to get out of stocks and move it all into something more secure at this point. And I pointed out that over the last 10 years, the historical return over the last 10 years has been 1.99%, nowhere near the 7% we're required to. This is a long-term obligation and long-term assets, I think, and you need a longer-term view in terms of what you're investing in and not just try and time the market as far as getting in and out. And the investment managers did agree with that analysis.
All right, if there's no other questions for the treasurer, let's move to questions, comments, and agenda-related. I think we addressed them all during our work session, and we don't have anybody in the audience to address any of the other items. Let's move to old business, and we do have an item under old business this evening. It's a motion to reconsider to approve an ordinance granting approval to a re-subdivision plat of Lot 20 in Rolling Knolls subdivision. This is a motion to reconsider. Do I have a motion to reconsider? Alderman Belke, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion?
I wanted to make a motion to reconsider the denial of the Rolling Knolls Lot 20 ordinance.
Wait a minute. What did you, is this motion
This is
incorrectly? Is the motion,
It's correct as it's written.
it's correct as written?
We do it in the positive, and then it's how you vote to
Okay.
make it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, no discussion? All right, this vote is the motion to reconsider the item. All right? All right, the roll, please.
Belke,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Clistic,
Nay.
Kenny,
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
The motion for reconsideration has been approved, and now I would like to ask for a motion to approve the ordinance granting approval to the re-subdivision of the re-subdivision plat of Lot 20 in Rolling Knolls subdivision. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion. I know we've talked a great deal about it already. Alderman Belzick?
I wasn't here last time.
That's
so-
right, yes. But you can put your 2 cents in, Alderman Belzick.
And so I don't know all the details of why it wasn't successful last time, but it appears that part of it was because they jumped the gun on it, and it was more of a punishment, for lack of a better way of describing it. Bottom line is, we approved it in municipal services, and looking at why we did it back then, I really don't see any reason why it shouldn't be approved at this point.
Well, Alderman Clist, it was only 2 members of that committee were there that evening. Were you the 3rd member of that committee?
Yes.
Who was it? Yes, you are the 3rd member. You were on vacation. So Alderman Clistick did vote in the affirmative at the committee, but then changed his mind when we got to the city council.
No,
So
I
that's
understand
how we
that,
arrived
yes.
at that, yeah. Yeah.
Mayor, just to add, in recollection of last meeting, I didn't notice anything punitive. Alderman
Yeah.
Belke had mentioned that it really, the council was lacking some information from the purchasers, if they were aware of it. So I put it more,
Okay.
more along the lines of that. And then as the information came from the last meeting to this meeting, I think that clarified the questions, the main question I think the council had at the last meeting.
Yeah, I don't believe the council knew that the foundation was dug earlier in that day. It wasn't until we got the correspondence from McNaughton Builders saying that they
Yeah, we didn't know.
that we didn't know. So it definitely was not punitive. And I just think that we wanted some more information to see why they weren't working with ComEd to rectify because what it sounded like to me at the time was that ComEd buried the line, and it sounded like they had buried it wrong. And our thought process, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that, well, why are we making a variance? Why aren't we going back to the source and having them fix the problem instead of coming to the city to make a variance? To Alderman Belke's point, that already a lot of variances were already originally in place for that project, and here we are adding another one to it. So it was definitely never a punitive reason.
Well, we also learned during the meeting that ComEd didn't have to move it because the line was in the easement already.
Right.
So it wasn't a case of, that they put it in the wrong place. So, but we have the prospective buyers of Lot 20. Ms. Rush and Mr. Biondo are here. I know your concern was it was on the letterhead of McNaughton. Mr. Biondo, did you want to address it and just reconfirm your approval of this change?
Yes. First of all, thank you for allowing us this opportunity and also for looking out for our best interests. But yes, we were made aware of the issue. We were out of town at the time. We really didn't have any, actually, I'm retired, so I didn't have any letterhead that I could put on myself. So we appreciated the fact that the builder was willing to do that. Once we understood what the issue was and how it was dealt with, and that it was back under your consideration, we felt that signing the letter was appropriate, and that now that we are aware of it, we do not have an issue. We appreciate your concerns and your comments, but we think we can work around that.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. And
Okay.
and originally I was for it, but when I went out there as a homeowner and walked the property and realized how close it is, and he could really just move the lines. If that was my house, I'd be just. So you're the owner?
Just,
I respect
just so you
that
know,
quite a
between
bit.
Katie and I, we have 65 years of municipal experience, so we certainly understand where you guys are coming from. We appreciate your concern, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Well, I think we have the other owner. I was just looking for the letters. The other resident that was impacted by, here it is, Mr. Metsihanga. I'm not pronouncing that very well, but they also confirmed that they are okay with this change. Okay. All right. If there's no other discussion, the roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Clistic.
Nay.
Belzak.
Aye.
Belke.
Aye.
5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
The motion has been approved. The ordinance, the granting of the approval has been approved. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Could I say one thing?
Please come on up, Mr. McNaughton.
I just want to say to you and to the council, ladies and gentlemen, that we apologize for the confusion we caused. We are professionals, and we are so glad that you worked this out with us, and we learned a lesson. Don't ever take the consent agenda as an okay. So I just want to say thank you, and we're very happy with the subdivision. We think it's very successful, and thank you for working with us.
Okay, thank you.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Let's move to the consent agenda, and we have items. The first motion is to approve the Darien Fest for September 8th, 9th, and 10th, organized by the Darien Chamber of Commerce. And Also, the motion includes the road closures to accommodate the carnival along Clarendon Hills Road, and the parking restrictions along the Darien Fest route. The next item is a motion granting a waiver of the $50 a day fee for the temporary liquor license for Darien Fest. With those two items on the agenda, do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Belke. The roll, please.
Belzak,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The two items have been approved. The next item let's move to new business, and the first item is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the unit price proposal from Acres Group for the purchase and installation of the 50/50 Parkway Tree Program and the Parkway Tree Replacement Program in an amount not to exceed $35,737. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion? The roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The motion has been approved. Item B is a motion to approve a resolution awarding a contract to Homer Tree Care in an amount not to exceed $135,765 for our 2017-18 tree trimming and removal program. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, seconded by Alderman Shower. Discussion? Do you want to, Dan, do you want to mention, or I could mention, the areas that are going to be trimmed this time? Let's see here. The neighborhoods are Farmingdale Village, Woodmere, Terra Hill, Carriageway West, Carriage Hill, Glen Eagles, Darien Woods, and Waterfall Glen. Those are the areas that will have the tree trimming. But the whole city can benefit from for the private tree.
Correct, and the
Yeah.
contract basically starts on November 30th, so during the upcoming week, we will be putting all the information via our web portals and Direct Connect to let residents know about the private property tree program trimming, as well as the city program upcoming for November.
I had one question of you, Dan. On that private property, I've used that in the past myself, and historically, as I recall, I think the last time I paid like $75 for a front yard tree and about $150 for a back. Now I believe it's significantly higher. I want to say it's $300 or $350 for a backyard, which surprised me a little bit about how
$375.
It
$375, I
seems
think
very
it was.
significant, so I just guess I don't know if you know, and we probably can't tell people, but I guess I would just encourage people not to necessarily assume that this is the best deal, to go out and get other competitive quotes if they are thinking of having the work done, because the individual price seems to have gone up quite significantly.
And while that is true, we do tell residents to please look for competitive quotes. One thing that's residents should be aware of, they should always ask for a certificate of insurance from a vendor, particularly a tree vendor. You never know what could happen, how a tree could land. So, but yeah, we usually put that information out there, especially when we identify that the pricing is slightly higher, or, you know, is it out of the norm? I can't answer that right now, because there's all the tree companies out there are currently very busy, very busy. That's all I can say right now.
Well, I'm sure with Emerald Ash and everything, makes sense.
If there's no other discussion, the roll, please.
Belzak,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 absent.
The motion has been approved. The next item C is a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a proposal from Patton Cat for the purchase of one new 2017 hydraulic hammer, WT Hammer Work Tool, H65E attachment, in an amount not to exceed $11,500. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Shower, Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman Clistic.
See resemblance.
The roll, please.
Kenny,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
Marquez,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
6 ayes and 1 absent.
I had to turn to this side a few more times, instead of going to this side all the time. Okay. We've covered all the items under new business, so I'll move to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have anything to share? Okay. Well, then I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Kenny, seconded by Alderman Belke. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.